Evening, everybody. It's a few minutes after 6, and this is your closing comment for today, Thursday, and it's video number 1494. Getting up there. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday, and I thought we were going to go lower on the CPI and then turn and go much higher. Put it out there at 5 o'clock yesterday. So we were ahead of it. Um, and this is the chart on the dollar because basically it had a lot to do with it. The issue with the Bank of England um, following through on their lead to support the pound and having their gilt market um, move back into some degree of normalcy was really what took us higher. Um, the chart on the screen is the dollar. We were talking about it rolling over here a little. So it rallied on the CPI and then collapsed. I mean, I don't know about collapse. In real terms, down just under 1% historically is a big move. But, you know, look here, you see plenty of them. I mean, the real moves are usually like this, where in order for it to move 1%, it might have taken a whole quarter, sometimes a whole year. Okay, what's interesting today, though, is that it didn't hold yields up, stocks down, because let's take a look at the bonds. They didn't close anywhere near the low, but they were down on the day. 1930 seconds, that's about 5/8 of a dollar, for those of you who remember fractions. And we were down at one point, new low, not forever, but new decline low, down to 122.28. So we closed $1.75 higher than the low. So, at one point we were down 2.5%, which is a huge move in bonds. We've only finished down 0.5%. But it did crack the yields up, stocks down. Okay, so we finished up 827 after being down 500. So this was I believe it was one of the top 8 or 10. No, it was one of the top 10. I just don't know if it was one of the top 8 or 10 days for maximum range based on a reversal. NASDAQ was up 232. The S&P was up 93. The Russell was up 40, which was 2.41. So the Dow was the biggest gainer, followed by the S&P, followed by NASDAQ, followed by the Russell, and then NASDAQ. And really the only one that didn't have this kind of a gain was the transports. It was only up 1%. And in fact, last night I was telling you it was the only one that was up at the close. Another thing I want to mention is that the VIX was only down $1.63, and it's still just under 92. And that's kind of surprising from the standpoint of the fact that it didn't move further down, because people are still concerned about buying protection. And I think rightly so. Give you an idea, this is the VIX on a weekly basis. Let's take it to 3 years. As you can see, these spikes are up to, I don't know, 40, 36, and then now we have not spiked. Even though we're making new lows, we have not spiked up above these highs at around just under 35. So, you know, that's a fair amount of complacency, and that makes it very scary. Okay, Etsy, um, you know, down 9.3% today. Um, BI, BTIG kept it as a buy but lowered their target to 119 from 122, which is interesting considering that it's already come down from 307 to 91. So we're pretty close to the bottom, and they're still saying buy, which is also something that Goldman Sachs did last week, initiated it with a buy. Another old name, Beyond Meat, actually reversed from down about 60 cents on the day to up 55 cents on the day. Um, and it's kind of interesting. This is another example of, you know, when there was plenty of money around and it didn't cost to do anything, not even the all time high, but just last year's high was 221, and we're 15. So, they can't seem to make a buck. And to just get into the uh, economics of it, if you recall, Beyond Meat's product is twice as expensive as ground beef. So, in an inflationary period where people are paying up for ground beef, it's kind of hard to pay twice that much. Okay, for a while here, WBA, Walgreens, they had a beat this morning for a fairly a long time this morning. It was the only one of the Dow 30 that was up. Closed 33.75, up 5.7%, $1.81, and not bad. All 30 Dow stocks were higher. And just not to put too fine a point on that, the leaders were exactly who you'd expect them to be. Goldman Sachs added 77, UNH 66, McDonald's 64, Microsoft 56, and Visa 43. Also of interest was Kroger coming out, and looks like they may be buying Albertsons. Um, Kroger is billed as the biggest grocer. In point of fact, that's not exactly accurate. They are the biggest grocer by number of stores. They have about 2,800. Um, but in terms of sales, the biggest grocer is Walmart. The second one is Amazon, and the third one is Costco. So Kroger comes in at 2,800 stores, and Albertsons comes in at 2,200 stores. So um, that would still make them pretty substantial. I don't know how it'll relate to Walmart or um, Amazon, and certainly Costco. Okay, and last but not least, I'm going to mention again the irony of RLMD today. This is a company, Relmada Therapeutics, and the stock closed at 31.69 yesterday, got down to around 465, closed the day at 641, down 25.28 or 80%. The ironic part is, for those of you who might own it and are depressed about it, the reason it went down is because their trial for their depression drug failed to meet the endpoints. So there you have it. All right, everyone. Let's see. Tomorrow's Friday. We don't have a lot of economic news tomorrow, but we do have earnings. We have retail sales at 8:30, and we have September import prices and export prices also at 8:30. Business inventories at 10 o'clock. But before the open, JP Morgan reports, Wells Fargo reports, Citi reports, and Morgan Stanley reports. So it should be a pretty good day, a pretty big day. Considering that a lot of these stocks, especially JP Morgan, are making new lows. I mean, JP Morgan today was 109 and a quarter, up 564 or 5.5%. But for the year, the high is about 168. So, it's down pretty hard here. Hopefully, um, we're back into the support from the 2020 lows. Hopefully, we won't have to go there, and possibly it's in the stock. So, have a